Hello everybody. Hi. I'm being told we've got to move fast in order to get our veggie dinners. Good afternoon everybody. It's a real honour to be here today. This panel is really special because I don't think a panel like this has happened ever. You know what, the whole event today is really inspiring for us and certainly for me because for years, the greener part of the festivals was always an alternative part, and some of the people recently have really taken that forward into a much more mainstream world. In fact, they're changing the world, and I really appreciate that. Festivals like Glastonbury and Shambhala and the Green Gathering and everything like that, it's really good to see. But this panel isn't so much about green stuff, it's about how people who organise or are involved in festivals are taking their work and really changing things all over the place. How they're transferring their skills from being in lots of muddy fields and really working their butts off for not very much money for years as well. But they're taking these skills and they are working so well in other environments and other arenas, and that's very, very unique. And I won't do that too much, but that is an amazing thing. And there's some people on this panel here who are just smashing it in a really, really interesting way. I'll just introduce the panel. Tim Benson from Firefly, Stevie Bedlam from Refugee Kitchen, who's just come from Calais today and is going back straight after. Maxine from the Refugee Council, and Frusina from the mighty Berlin Festival and many other things. I'm representing Europa here, which is a 100-people festival organisation as well from Europe. So let's move to the first guy, Tim. Ooh. The mighty Firefly.
Thank you, Chris. Apologies if my presentation is a bit staccato. I managed to tread on my glasses yesterday morning, so I actually can't really see the screen in front of me. So if what's on the screen and what comes out of my mouth differs in any way, that's the reason why. So I'm representing a company called Firefly. Essentially, we design and manufacture what's called hybrid power generators. We began in 2007, where we built solely solar generators for small-scale community events. It soon became apparent that these kind of solar systems, if you like, weren't adequate for the larger events, for your Glastonburys, for your Shambhalas, etc. So we designed a Cygnus portfolio of products which integrate with diesel generators. And they're designed to cut diesel generator run times by up to 50%, hence lowering fuel bills. And because you're lowering fuel consumption, you're reducing emissions. Our products work in a number of ways. They can work as a base load management system, so where you have an overnight load at a festival, which is very low, but you have a hoofing great generator for the daytime shows. You don't want to leave that 100 kVA generator running all night because that's incredibly inefficient. It's very expensive on burning fuel. So our battery inverter systems take over the overnight load. They manage that from battery. They recharge during the daytime. And it's a more efficient way of running your base loads. They can also act as a standalone solar power system. And they also function as an uninterrupted power supply. So what does this have to do with charity, you might say, because I'm just doing a wanton product plug at this stage. Well, we were very privileged to be asked by Nina Pulford, who unfortunately can't be here today because she's just given birth to a little girl, from Love Support Unite charity to help her with a project that they were running in Malawi at a school called Mukundu. Love Support Unite have a mission to help rural communities and in particular schools in Malawi to empower themselves to improve their lives, to give them opportunities to actually generate revenue from business startups, to farm their own land, to design and manufacture products which allow them to work late into the night. And for this, they needed some kind of electrification, because obviously very rural places in Malawi don't have the grid power that we have over here in the UK. I have to stress that the conditions out there were pretty tough, and what seems on the surface like a beautifully lovely, fluffy project, in actual fact, is a lot of hard work and graft. And I wasn't fortunate enough to go out there myself, but 4 of my colleagues did, and they spent a week installing some of our products into the school. So why did they want electricity? They wanted electricity to improve the education opportunities, and that wasn't only for pupils, that was for mothers and toddler groups, that was for people within the community. It goes without saying that we can flick a light on in the winter time when we get back from school or college and continue our studies. That couldn't happen out there. Something as basic as a need of light they didn't have. New revenue opportunities. Historically, Nina tells me that everyone went to the local airport to charge their mobile phone, which is an interesting concept. Everyone, in fact, went to the local airport for everything, as far as I could understand out there. So they wanted electrification so that they could start a pay-per charge for mobile phone charging within the community and within the school itself. And then they also wanted to step that up and do educational film showings as well, which again they could charge for. So this is all about this community being empowered to be self-sufficient and to be able to subsist. They also wanted power to power the maize grinders. So again, they can provide their own food for the school and their own food for the community. So Nina basically approached us and said to RMD, I understand that you design and manufacture battery storage systems. And we kind of scratched our heads a little bit and said, well, yeah, we build stuff for festivals and parties and shows and sporting events. But yeah, maybe these systems could be installed in a school to give them what they needed. So we donated one of our Cygnus 2 products, which is an 8 kVA battery inverter system, the 4 kWp solar array that you can see there. We sent out a team of project managers and electricians to basically wire up the school, show the local community and the people in the school how to maintain the system, and to offer them the opportunity for independent, renewable, fuelless power. As you can see, we had some very happy shoppers. They helped install the system. There was a great amount of social media based all around this, and we were pleased to say that the whole thing worked, because that's always a concern really, especially with solar. We've also been involved with some other overseas aid projects. We've been working very recently with the United Nations Development Programme. We've worked with L'Auberge des Migrants, which obviously you're going to talk a lot more about. We went out there to look at putting in solar and power systems for these warehouses, which are supposedly taking over the places of the tents in the jungle. We did some specific product modifications for the International Red Cross for their emergency relief teams. So when these guys hit the ground in disaster zones, they don't have these big generators ready to be dropped in place to put the power in for the hospitals and everything. So we built some bespoke designs for ICRC so that as soon as they hit the ground, they could power up their offices and get the good work underway. And also we've undertaken some work with MSF, which unfortunately I don't have any detail on. That's pretty much it from my point of view. Only to say that really there is definitely a place for not just donating money, not just donating things for overseas aid and for refugees, but actually donating equipment which is born of the entertainment industry that will allow rural communities to become self-sufficient and to be able to manage their own lives and have a degree of autonomy, which I think is what we all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. You'll see Firefly at so many festivals. If you're ever staying in a tent next to a generator and you can't hear it, it's generally their fault. The next speaker is Maxine McMinn. She's from the Refugee Council, which has run their own festival for years called Celebrating Sanctuary. And the refugee crisis or migrant crisis or whatever you call it is a massive issue, and as we're going to hear, something that festival and event organisers have really taken on. Maxine, tell us about your team.
Okay, so hi, Maxine, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for welcoming Refugee Council to an event like this. I think it's really innovative that we're here, and so thanks for taking the time. So basically, I wanted to start with a picture. It's quite, I think, stark and a bit depressing, but it just kind of puts in context what is happening, as we say at work, during this crisis time. So this is a picture actually was taken about 2 weeks ago, so it's real. It's from Calais, and this is just an example of kind of the journey. It doesn't have any people in it, but I think the picture is so stark in that these are the lifeguards that have been, used hopefully by people to get here safely, but unfortunately that's not always the case. So just to tell a little bit about Refugee Council, for those that may not know about us. So we're over 65 years old this year, and we basically started to assist people in desperate need. So that's anyone who's forced to flee their homes due to war, persecution, or torture, and they're coming to the UK in safety. So we only operate in the UK, and we only help people who come to the UK, and that's asylum seekers and refugees themselves. So we help through delivering a variety of services that help anyone who's vulnerable, really, and that includes children who unfortunately arrive alone, young people, and that's based in our Croydon offices, survivors of torture, and that's through our therapeutic work, and then people facing homelessness. So unfortunately, as I was speaking to Chris earlier, a lot of people who get refugee status do face homelessness, which is really, really sad. So we do have centres that help people with that, and we also have employment services for those who need jobs and to work on CVs. We have a resettlement program, which is a bit complex, but basically the UN goes to camps and takes those people who are vulnerable and resettles them in the UK, and that's a little bit to do with this new Syria vulnerable replacement person. And then we also have our advocacy team, which has worked for years and years and years to try to get more Syrians resettled, and that has been a success for what we can say over it was about 3 years ago. So that's a little bit about us. So now to talk about basically this crisis, as we call it at work. So of course refugees have been seeking sanctuary in the UK for years and years and years, but unfortunately since September this is the worst refugee crisis we've seen. So this is to do with factors I'm sure you are all aware of, but like with Syria, unfortunately that doesn't look like that's ending anytime soon, and the government has finally recognized that by welcoming 20,000 Syrians into the UK, but also because of the crisis in the Mediterranean and other areas of conflict. So you can see that there's Calais, which will be talked about later, but there is a need, and you can see it in things like the jungle and people making these horrendous journeys from the Middle East and Africa. So basically for years and years and years we've just been calling for safe and legal routes, and why we're doing that is people are unfortunately not making it to the UK, and we really, as Refugee Council, we, as I said before, we only work in the UK, but we want people to be able to make it here, so then when they get here they can start their life again or begin to live without a fear of persecution or be helped if they've had torture. So we've been trying to work with countries in Europe and councils in Europe to get the borders there a bit more freer, and then to work with other countries in Europe to get them to be able to come to the UK more safely. So that's a little bit about what we've done. And then this, I'm not an expert on, so I'm very willing to change these, to share these slides later. But basically, this is just a bit about what we've been doing. So we've been asking the UK to take more responsibility. So this is one of our papers. And this is a letter that we actually sent to David Cameron in January, along with a lot of other organizations, but I've got a link because I'm definitely not the expert that can talk on that. And again, calling for safe and legal routes. So there's about over 10-page document that our parliamentary manager has put together, and I thought I shouldn't be the person to talk on this, but I can provide these for anyone that wants them at a later date. So this is just a little example of what we've been doing. And because I love this picture, such a cutie. So this was taken by a volunteer for us recently. She, like I said, she went to Calais and she's taken a few pictures of the camps, and they're really heart-wrenching. I'm sure you all saw this picture of this little boy that drowned, which kind of led to the turn in the news. And unfortunately, we've seen those pictures for months and years in the Refugee Council, so it wasn't a surprise, but it really did sadden us. But it's sad that it took that kind of picture to kind of put the world's attention. And this one, I just think she's such a love bug. She's so cute. But it just shows that, there are the people this age coming to seek sanctuary, and this is in County. So now about our events. So we do social action through events. So something that I wanted to just talk about a bit, which links to Secret Cinema, is a project called Just Bread. So Just Bread started in 2013. So what it was is an innovative project that we're trying to employ refugees and give them skills. So one of the things is we thought, maybe they could be bakers. So it was one of my colleagues' ideas, and it's actually based for women. And this started with eight women in Hackney, and E5 Bakehouse supported us, and it's now 24 women have graduated. And the direct results of this have been that several women have received employment in bakeries and the Gory Hotel, which is really good, and at Lola Events, which is a link to events. But they actually got a kiosk at the Secret Cinema 100-day event, which was Secret Cinema Presents Star Wars. So that's just one way that we're trying to broach events with actually getting refugees involved in them. So these people can then be employed and take their skill set further on. And then a little bit about Secret Cinema. So I'm very proud of this picture because I took it with great regard, because Secret Cinema is totally secret and won't let you take any pictures. I almost got chucked out, but I was like, I'm taking this for work. So basically they got involved with us through this link of Just Bread. They were having a kiosk. And then the first conversations with Secret Cinema were about this 4th of May event, which probably maybe not many people heard about because it was just a pre-launch event. So it's like the force be with you sort of thing. So we thought that was going to be it, and actually it ended up that they asked us to partner for the full 100 days of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back at Canary Wharf, which was really, really wonderful and brought us not only to a whole new audience that we wouldn't have got to any other way, but it actually got those people employed through the kiosk, which was amazing, and it brought in funds for us. So they did both bucket collection through the days, and then they took in money for donations. So it was really, 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 truly wonderful. I'm very grateful to them, Secret Cinema. And then it actually turned out when this march happened, which I'll talk about just now, they did another event, which I've only got this, but it was called Love Refugees. It was a one-off event, which was September 12th, which was in partnership again with Refugee Council, where they wanted to reenact a camp and get people to kind of have that experience. And so that was really a success, even though I heard the movie was really, really depressing. It got people in the mind of what actually happens and kind of that displacement feeling. So that's Secret Cinema. So this is a picture of the Refugees Welcome March, which happened in September. So this is our staff actually at the event itself, and this is again reiterating what I've said before, but really promoting, calling for safe and legal routes. So that event was a huge, huge success with over 90,000 people turning up, which blows my mind really. And it had actually our CEO Morris speak at it, and then a lot of people that were at that march went on to the Secret Cinema event, the Love Refugees, at the end. So I think that event just showed how really the conscientious of people, the public, want to do something for events. And I think if we've got 90,000 people in London, trying to do something, there's really a need for the event industry to kind of be looking at what we can do for events, refugees and asylum seekers themselves. So looking ahead, fortunately, refugees will just always come to the UK. There's always going to be a need for people to seek sanctuary, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like times are getting any better. The conflict in Syria will still continue, and unfortunately, if any of you have seen the news, which I'm sure you all have, we see a lot of walls being built up in Europe. So they're going for this closed-off feeling in Europe of trying to, us and them and walls, and that doesn't negate the problem. So a wall doesn't stop people who have been tortured. It doesn't stop people who need to seek sanctuary somewhere else. They will just seek it another way, and unfortunately drownings will continue. So a lot of government cuts resulted in, I think, an increase in people drowning, which is so, so sad. Makes me really depressed. And I think we need to work with the governments in Europe and councils in Europe to try to look to that. So I would love to be more positive, but that we're going to be there for anyone who needs us. So unfortunately, and I was at Paris myself, and I think it was talked about earlier, but something that we really, as an organization, we don't talk about, but me personally very interested in, is climate refugees. So that's going to just increase. So a fact I Googled was, according to the International Displacement Monitoring Center, there'll be 26.4 people on average who have fled their homes since 2008, and that's due to climate. So if anything like this morning proves us, that will just increase and increase. So I think going forward, someone will probably need to looking at climate refugees and what we do for them. And as people who work in events, I think that's something we need to think about as well. So just to talk about a bit more about what we can do as event people, like is there something we can do for refugees and asylum seekers? And I definitely think there is. So one of the things that we can do is reach out to very small, they're called refugee community organizations. They're usually tiny with usually very limited budget, but there's stuff like the Afghan Association. So they're helping Afghani people who've come to the UK. They usually don't necessarily even know about events or stuff like this, and that's due to language or various other barriers. So we can help by reaching out to them. So, and also with translators. So a lot of people who are coming to the UK won't be speaking English right away. So if you can have translators for some maybe languages like in Amharic, Ethiopia and Eritrea, you might be more welcoming and open to people who are asylum seekers and refugees. And also to link to those communities. So with the resettlement community that exists in Sheffield, there's a large group of Iraqis there, so if you can link to that group to welcome them and say, we want you to come to our events, and this is the reason that you might be interested. And then this is a bit awkward, but through employment. I mean, refugees and asylum seekers, once you seek refuge, you need to be employed. So if there's anything that the event industry can do, and if there's any jobs, Refugee Council would love to hear about them. We have a whole program that just focuses on that. And then a little bit of positivity after I think a bit of difficulty. So currently we have this exhibition called Refugees Gift, and this is one of the pictures from it. Sorry, it's so small. I was trying to get the writing in as well. But it's basically was taken in 2012, and it's photographs of different refugees and the contribution they've made to the UK. So it has someone like Dame Stephanie Shirley, which I don't know if you guys know, but she was a very famous entrepreneur, and something they brought with them on their journey. So these are some of the volunteers, and this exhibition just shows a little bit of what, you get sometimes so much negative rhetoric around refugees, but this is positive. I think it's what they've contributed to the UK since they've come here. And if you want to go see it, it's in Windsor Castle. It starts soon, until April. And then finally, thank you so much for having me talk. And if you want to learn more about Refugee Council, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and that's my email.
Thank you so much, Maxine. So yes, if there's any way that you can think of using refugee people inside of your events, please contact Maxine. She knows where they all are in the UK. So our next speaker, as I said, he just drove all the way from Calais to get here. Over the last year, there's been something really incredible happen with people from many, many different festivals that I know people personally who have all said they're going to go and do something in Calais. Whether that's the whole of Dismaland being broken down into huts and taken down there by people like Block 9 who do Block 9 Field, and lots and lots of other random festival people have all been heading towards places like Calais and Greece to help refugees, to help economic migrants, to help people in trouble using their skills. And it's something, personally I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's almost a movement of people that perhaps maybe not everybody knows that's happening, but it is happening. Stevie Bedlam, right next to me. Is that right? It's not my real name. No, it's not his real name. It's his real name, Steve. I always forget that. Steve Stavridis runs the Common Ground at Glastonbury, has for many years run an enormously brilliant PA company as well and stuff like that. He's, along with many other people as well, has a pretty amazing story to tell, and I'll hand you over.
Thank you. Hello everyone. I don't have a slick presentation unfortunately, because until this morning I didn't actually know I was actually going to make it, unfortunately, because we were in the middle of a massive eviction, as you've probably been seeing on the TV. So I was torn to come actually, but I thought, you know what, people are seeing all the stuff on the news. I don't know how many of of you have actually been out there, but I thought I'd come and give you some information firsthand about what we're actually doing out there and what's actually happening out there. So, as Chris said, I'm in the events business as well, mainly Glastonbury Festival, running the Common, and I often have downtime in the winter, and in this winter I was going to go away and I was going to work on myself, you know, that thing you go to Ibiza and you chill out and you just, you know, you work on yourself. You've done everything for everyone else. And I thought, well, I'm going to drive there, so I'm going to drive through Calais, so I better not just pass through and just, you know, carry on to my destination. So I got together with a friend of mine who's a chef, Sam Jones, and we decided that we would do something over there. We would take something to the refugees. Not knowing what we would really do, we just thought, well, we both love food, so we thought food. We were going to go and take a kitchen and set it up in the jungle, and ideally work there for a couple of weeks, give the kitchen to the refugees and let them get on with it, and then I was off to Spain. We got there on our recce in October, and we soon realised within an hour that was just not going to happen. First of all, no one wanted a kitchen because they all wanted to come here, so no one was going to look after whatever we left them. So we decided that we needed to set up something bigger. This is, as you can see, my presentation is sideways. I think most of these pictures are sideways. Because I just literally put them in a folder last night and sent them to Claire with. So anyway, we decided to set up a kitchen outside the camp in the Auberge de Migrants warehouse that you mentioned earlier, which is a distribution warehouse, which is where all the clothes that get sent, all the aid that gets sent, gets sorted and distributed, and unfortunately about 70% of it comes back to the UK because it's used, dirty, inappropriate. We've had wedding dresses and stilettos and all sorts. And so we set up a big kitchen in their warehouse, and this is one of our sideways chefs. The character. So essentially we set up it in the warehouse in order to, there's a better one, in order to supply hot food to the camps, to the refugees in both Calais and Dunkirk, and also to supply a support network to the kitchens that are actually in the camps, that are people that are living in there, like the Ashram kitchen and the Belgian kitchen and the Calais kitchen. And so we basically took over a third of their warehouse where they had no food, and we basically managed to orchestrate several companies in the UK. I mean, 90% of the food comes from the UK. People always ask, when they come to the warehouse, it's a French organisation, and they come there and go, where are the French? And there's 95% of the people there are British. And my answer is that the British are very good at whatever they do. We're good at bombing, we're good at feeding, we're good at everything we do, so we really get behind whatever we do. Which is why we're there, and the rest of the organisation is mainly Belgian, Dutch, and a little bit French. The French is coming on board now. Their media is as bad as ours, so you know, they're not encouraged to come there because of fear. So anyway, so we get in this place hundreds of volunteers daily. You can see, so our main thing now is we prep food for 2 days in advance. We're feeding up to 2,500 people a day with hot food. Our main aspect, our main thing is not just to feed them to keep them alive, because these are humans, they're people who had jobs, these are people who had lives. So we make culturally relevant food for them, which is very hard when you're trying to feed 7 cultures. And then the Kurdish go, but we only want salt. And the Afghans go, where's the spice? And the Sudanese go, we don't eat rice. Give us rice every day. So it's quite difficult to actually get it right. So we try. You know, we cut out cumin. No one likes cumin. Really enough. You know, so we're trying to feed them the right food, but our main goal actually now is to build kitchens for them, even if they're temporary kitchens. So our main goal now is to build up kitchens from wood-fired ovens and stoves, and we now supply them with the food they can cook for themselves. One thing they don't have, which they came looking for, is their dignity. They don't have their dignity, they don't cook for one guy I sat with the other day, Mohammed, he said to me, he doesn't feel like a human. He's been on the road for 10 years, since he was 14, and he said to me, "Why?" I said, "What are you going to do? You going to England?" He said, "No, I've been to England, and they kicked me out." I said, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "I'm going back to Afghanistan." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do there?" He says, "Well, probably die, but I'll die in my country, with my people, eating my food." That was a little dig. And what can you say to someone like that? I mean, they left when they was 14 years old from Afghanistan, looking for something better. They hear that the West is a fair place. They hear that it's got dignity. They hear that we've got human rights. You'll see a lot in the Calais, whether you do or not, I don't know, but on the press, you know, where are the human rights? And a lot of them say there's human rights for you, you Westerners. There's human rights for you white people. There's no human rights for us. We're treated like dogs, and they are. The French police, the French fascist organisations treat them like dogs. They spit on them in the street. I got stopped by the police on the way over here last week, because even though I do still do Glastonbury, I come every Thursday. I take off from feeding people to work on programming artists, which is really weird. It's like, you know, yeah, we'll give you food every day, and we'll give you a bell tent, you know, and all this kind of stuff. It's a really weird contrast, you know. What colour marquee do you want? I don't really care, just get the marquee there. And I got stopped by the police, and the police kept saying to me, you know, why don't they just take refuge in France? You know, and the French, to be fair to them, they are offering refuge. They are offering refuge. And I said, well, maybe it's the image of a police officer standing on the bank in the jungle, firing tear gas indiscriminately into the women and children section, into the Kurdish family section, and then standing next to that person is a fascist wearing a police uniform with no tags, because that's what they wear in France, the Calais Libre group. And then they stand there and they laugh and they joke to each other. And I said, would you want to stay in a country that gives you that image? You know, and the copper said, no, well, I probably wouldn't. I said, great, can I go now? I'm going to miss my train. And so anyway, so these guys, this guy came. He came on his first official trip abroad, and, which was great. I missed him. I had to go to Dunkirk, but he came and he was cool. Yeah, hopefully this guy does something with his, his power. I hope he does. I'm not big on trusting politicians, but he seems to do the right thing. And we presented him with a knife set to help him in his new job. he chuckled. These pictures aren't really relevant to anything I'm saying other than that they're in the place, so they're not really in any order. So I'm just going to kind of do this and then show you some spices. Like I say, so what we're trying to do now is give them back some dignity. So right now we're working with MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, who are building. They're the only group on the ground. Them and Médecins du Monde. There's no Red Cross. Don't matter what their adverts say. They're not raising money for anyone in Calais. There's no UNHCR. There's no UNICEF. There's no Amnesty International. They're not there. Don't care what anyone says. Don't care what the press says. They are not on the ground. So we're working with Médecins Sans Frontières to build a new camp. A camp that, to be fair, looks a bit like a concentration camp, but will have more dignity. We're building kitchens. We're building community spaces for them. Simple things. It's going to have a laundry. The reason that l'Auberge de Migrants help refugees and Calais and all those people are constantly shouting out for clothes is because when you give a refugee a pair of trousers and it gets wet, there's nowhere for them to dry it, they just throw it away, so you have to give them another one. So now we're building laundries, we're building kitchens so they can be able to cook for themselves, they can be able to feed their family. This is the sort of food we send out every single day. It's really based around nutrition. It's balanced, it's protein, it's carbs, it's fresh fruit, it's fresh salad, it's fresh bread. Like I say, it's not just about God, pictures are weird. So it's just people cleaning. Hygiene is very important to us. There's our food list. So look, at the end of the day, these people need some dignity. They need some help. For sure, there's a load of blaggers in there taking advantage of the situation. But at the end of the day, they've come from war-torn countries. They've lost family. Most of them in Calais. There's about 7,000 or 8,000 people in Calais and Dunkirk. Most of them have family or connections here. That's why they're here. We get asked, why do they all want to come here? Well, all 4 million of them. There's not 4 million of them in Calais. There's about 8,000, 10,000. It's a tiny, tiny percentage of people that want to come here. And the reason they want to come here is because they've got connections that they've lost. They've lost family. They've lost loved ones, they've lost everything, and this is where their family are now. I mean, there's blaggers, don't get me wrong. I met one guy who said he was a member of Britain First, which I thought was unbelievable. So there's the rocket stove. That's what we're building to cook on. It's primitive and mutated looking, but it works. You put wood in it, and you can cook on it. Kind of losing my track here. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Everybody should be welcome, right? And there's me handing out banana. Just, have compassion when it comes to the refugees. 80% of the people working out there are festival workers and events workers or travellers or hippies, or whatever you want to call them. My worry is that when the festival season starts, they're going to go because they've all got to work. I know I've given it up to the beginning of May and I've got to go, otherwise I won't have a job to go back to. So they're going to need support throughout this whole summer season. And I thought that we were at a peak over the last few months. We're not. This is just the beginning of it. As soon as the seas calm down, they're going to be flooding because they don't want to be in refugee camps in Turkey and Lebanon and places like that. This is not, the media are painting it like, this is a kind of, this is like we're at a height. We're not. This is the beginning. There you go. Thank you very much.
Steve Bedlam. Wonderful Steve Bedlam. Refugee Kitchen, one of the names it goes by. If you look around, if there's anything you can do for Refugee Kitchen, please do it. You can make money, you can find it on Facebook, you can put some money that way, but I think what Steve's saying is so crucial here. 80% of the people down there, not NGOs, not people from, well-paid charities or even people from any organisations, frankly. Everybody just piles down there and is helping out. And what's amazing is 80% of those people are from festival land, which is why we're all here, which is why we're talking about it. We're saying that there's something going on here. People from festival lands understand these situations really well and can really move their skills over there. And this is something that I didn't see before anyway, personally. So thank you, Steve. That's amazing. So moving on to our final speaker, the wonderful Frosina. Frosina's coming from an organisation, and really very quickly, the situation is that, again, festival people, festival organisations have actually got the right equipment and the right skills to really help in lots of situations. And it's really great to see people are doing that, especially from the perspective of festivals didn't just come from a commercial place in the beginning, they came from radical and alternative people, so it's really good to see those things going on. And Frosina, as I'm sure she's going to tell us very well, has the story on what's happening in mainland Europe amongst those people and what they're saying.
It's working. Thank you, Chris, and hello everybody, and thank you very much, Claire, Teresa, Holgi, Holger, for this invitation. It's always honestly a true honor to be invited in such panels, especially after such moving words and speeches. Chapeau for the things you do. It really touched me deeply. I am. My profession is I'm a festival promoter. I'm running the Lollapalooza Berlin Festival in Germany, and I'm a member of the board of Europe. Europe is the European Festival Association, and we have almost 100 European festivals that are our members. And with these festivals, we meet very regularly, 4 times a day. The ILMC is one of those places where we meet. We have our General Assembly and our members meeting. And it's an organization that we exchange our know-how, our knowledge, our love and passion for culture, for music, and especially for the we have this inner drive to organize festivals and to make the world a better place with our festivals, even though it sounds maybe a little bit naive, but I think nowadays these thoughts and these words are again very trendy, I would say, and it's very good to repeat it many times. Therefore, and the reason why I'm here is I would like to, I have the honor to share our mission statement with you. It's a mission statement of European festival promoters, of European festivals. We created this mission statement beginning of December in a wonderful place in the Austrian Alps, where we organized our first European Festival Conference. And we had almost 80 members there. And now I would like to, it's the first time we shared our mission statement was in January at the Eurosonic Nordislag Festival. And now I have the privilege to share these thoughts with you. And therefore, I would like to ask you all, including the panel, if it's possible to close your eyes and just listen to my voice. It's not long, but just get into you. Thank you. So the mission statement of European festivals. Who are we? We are European festival promoters, bringing culture, music, art, and design to millions of young people every day and every year. Our events are a peaceful and joyful get-together of many different people in a limited space over a limited time. Together with our audience, we are a community through our passion for music, culture, and through our love for festivals. What does the European festival scene stand for? We want to be ambassadors of the European idea. We want to be an example for the togetherness of different people from different countries, no matter what gender, what race, what religion, or sexual orientation or origin these people have. We stand for acceptance and cultural diversity. Our business involves social responsibility. Our aim is to be fair. We stand for high awareness of sustainability, ecologically, socially, and economically. We want our ideas of a peaceful cultural diversity to influence the future generation. Through our partners, we want to spread our message into politics and make an impact in a positive way. We connect people through culture. We are bound through the collective thought of a common goal. We want to exchange, educate, learn from each other, and spread the message. For the future generation, for the future of Europe, for a strong community, not only in the festival sector, but over all of Europe and for mankind. And please keep your eyes shut, because I want to share one more sentence with you that touched me very deeply. I had the luck a couple of years ago to visit New Zealand. And for me as a European, it's not really the closest place to be. But there I learned about the culture of the Maoris, I learned about the land, I learned about the people, how they love and respect their land, how they respect their culture, their music, their people. And there I was part of a ceremony, it's called Pohiri. It was a welcoming. Me as a foreigner, I was welcomed by the Maoris. And there I learned a sentence that became kind of part of my life and my philosophy, and it is He aha te a mea nui. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing? It is the people, it is the people, it is the people. My dear friends, now you can open up your eyes if you want, and I'm sure, I feel that you understood why I was asking you to close your eyes. This mission statement and these thoughts, these are the thoughts that we as European festival promoters and European culture workers, human beings working in this industry, that's what we stand for. This is our message. It's a strong message. It is open for everybody. It is also open for people in this room to join this. It's not a closed club. It's not only for European festival promoters. And especially in times like this, with topics that were discussed not only in this panel, but especially in this panel, I think it's a crucial moment in time now that we, with all of our powers, with all of our possibilities, and with festivals do have a very strong possibility to reach out to people, no matter what age group, no matter what gender, no matter what race. But what we represent, it reaches out to many people. And I'm a true believer that even if we have one soul at our festival, that we can give something back, and that maybe we can change a wrong perception, then it was worth organizing a whole event even for 400 or 500,000 people. So I want to say thank you that I could join this panel and that I could share this thought with you. And I definitely know that our organization, Europe, the European Festival Association, with all of our festivals, this is our mission and this is our vision, what we represent today and what we want to represent also in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much. It was very touching. So, yes, festivals are not just places for corporate people to spend money on and make money from everyone else. They have a real power to put a message over, both anthropologically, how they have meaning to the youth. We can actually say things through festivals, off main stages, through the messaging that actually really are hitting. They're not just like a social network thing, they're real people face to face. So if any of you festival organisers are out there, don't feel scared to say something about climate change or the refugees. I think it's just the perfect moment. And festival organisers as well, you guys have got the skills that are really needed all the time as well. So stacking those up and your crew up to help out is also a really good idea.